Copyright 2014, Math, Diagnostics, and Intervention, all rights reserved. We're going to take a look at the subtraction of signed numbers, but we're going to start off with a familiar problem that we remember how to do, 5 minus 2. And we learned that that's 3, but let's take a look at what's really happening here. What's really happening is I've got 5 positive values, and I want to take 2 positive values away. So we're going to take 2 positive values away from my 5 positive values, and I have 3 left over. So 5 minus 2 is 3. But what I want you to notice about this problem is that another way we can think about 5 minus 2, 5 minus 2 is also the same as 5 plus negative 2. What's happening here? Well, we have 5 positive values and 2 negative values, and our positives and negatives wipe each other out on a one-for-one basis. Who has more? The positives. By how many? 3. And notice that I got a value of 3 when I just thought of my subtraction problem the normal way. I also got 3 when I thought of my subtraction problem as adding the opposite. Let's take a look at another type of problem that we could run into with the signed numbers. 3 minus 4. Well, what's happening here is that we have 3 positive values, and we need to take 4 positive values away. Well, we don't have enough positive values. We can't do it. Well, actually we can. We just can't do it with 3 in this form. The way we need to think about 3 is 3 plus 0. This is just 0. So I still only have 3 there. Even though I have 4 positives and 1 negative, altogether that's just 3. Well, now I have 4 positives that I can take away. There are my 4 positives. I can take my 4 positives away, and I have negative 1 left over. Now, what I want you to notice about this problem is that this problem is the same as 3 plus negative 4. 3 plus negative 4, who has more members? The negatives. By how many? 1. Or we could also think of it as 3 positives, 4 negatives, my 3 positives and my 4 negatives, 3 of my positives and 3 of my negatives wipe each other out as a 0, and I have the 1 negative left over. Let's take a look at another signed number. Subtraction problem. Let's take a look at negative 2 minus 3. Well, this time I have 2 negatives, and I need to take 3 positives away. Well, I don't have 3 positives, but I can get 3 positives by adding the form of 0 like this. This is still just 0. So altogether, I still only have 2 negatives. I now have 3 positives to take away, so we're going to subtract those 3 positives, and I have negative 5 left over. So negative 2 subtract 3 is negative 5. But notice I can think of this problem as negative 2 plus negative 3. I have 2 negatives. I want to add 3 negatives to that, and altogether I have 5 negatives. Who has more? The positives or the negatives? The negatives. Positives didn't even show up. So we have negative 5. Let's take a look at one more type of problem. We've got 4 minus negative 2. And what we have going on here is 4 positives. And I want to take 2 negatives away. Well, I don't have 2 negatives to take away, but I can get 2 negatives by adding the proper form of 0. And I can take those 2 negatives away, and I have 6 left over. So 4 minus negative 2 is 6. But also notice we can think of this as 4 plus positive 2. I have 4 positives and 2 more positives. Altogether I have 6 positives, so my final answer is 6. The important thing to notice so far is that we've had 4 different problems. We had 5 minus 2. And 5 minus 2 was the same as 5 plus negative 2. We had 3 minus 4, and 3 minus 4 was the same as 3 plus negative 4. We had negative 2 minus 3, and negative 2 minus 3 was the same as 2 plus negative 2 plus negative 3. And we had 4 minus negative 2, and 4 minus negative 2 was the same as 4 plus 2. And this brings us to our general process for how to subtract signed numbers. What we're going to do with all of our signed number subtraction problems is turn them into addition problems by a method of keep. We keep the 5. We change the subtraction to addition, or keep add, and then we change the sign of our number, in this case from positive 2 to negative 2. We keep the 3. We make the subtraction addition, and then we change the sign of our number. So we're going to do that with all of our signed subtraction problems. So let's take a look at negative 3 minus 5. We're going to keep the negative 3. We're going to make the subtraction addition, and then we're going to change the sign of the positive 5 to negative 5. Who has more members, the positives or the negatives? The negatives do. And that becomes negative 8. Let's look at 5 minus 9. We're going to keep the 5. We're going to make the subtraction addition, and then we're going to change the sign of the positive 9 to negative 9. Who has more, the positives or the negatives? The negatives have more. By how many? 4. Let's look at 7 minus negative 2. We're going to keep the 7. We're going to make the subtraction addition, and then we're going to change the sign of our negative 2 to positive 2. 7 plus 2 is just 9. So in general, we do keep, add, change with all of our values. Let's take a look at four minus 8. 4 minus 8. We're going to keep the 4, we're going to make the subtraction addition, and we're going to change the sign of our negative 8. Who has more members? The negatives. By how many? 4. Negative 3 minus 5. We're going to keep the negative 3. We're going to make the addition subtraction, or make the subtraction addition, and then we're going to change the sign of our 5. Who has more members? The negatives. By 8. So any problem, 7 minus 9 is keep, add, change, and then follow the rules for addition. Who has more? The negatives. By how many? 2. And as long as you remember to change your subtraction into addition problems with this keep, add, change method, and then just apply your rules for addition, you should have no difficulty with subtraction of signed number problems. Good luck.